Hello there, I'm gonna show you the quarterfinal match between Magnus Carlsen and Wesley So from the Lindores Abbey Rapid Challenge 2020. Yesterday, Hikaru beat Levan Aronian and qualified for the semis, whereas Yu Yang Yi won against Ding Liren with time when Ding Liren had a drawish position in the Armageddon game. And that must have been heartbreak for Ding. In a drawish position, he lost on time. So Yu Yang Yi also progressed through. So this is the third quarterfinal match between Magnus Carlsen and Wesley So, and the winner goes through. It's quite obvious. Magnus is white, Wesley So is black. In the first game of their match, Magnus opens with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, and bishop b4, the Nimzo Indian defense, my favorite opening. I like it the most. Knight f3, castles, bishop g5, the Leningrad variation is very well known. c5, rook c1 defends the knight because you might see queen a5 coming, and this knight is somewhat an epicenter of the tension. C takes d, knight takes, and h6, not only challenging the bishop but also making room for the king in case of some tension on the back rank in the end games. So better be prepared in the opening itself. So bishop tucks back, keeping this pin, this annoying pin. So if queen gets away from this pin, we just exchange and ruin the black's pawn structure. d5, so challenging in the center. Main aim, if is the recapture, then recapture, and then this bishop can come out easily on g4, and then if it's challenged, then this bishop can come on h5. So pretty decent move. C takes d5, and now g5, challenging the bishop. Bishop tucks back and queen takes. Knight cannot take it because of the pin, absolute pin. e3, and now queen takes a2. Now when you see this position reminds me of the first game of the 1985 World Chess Championship match, in which Garry Kasparov was white against Anatoly Karpov, and this queen was stuck here for Karpov, and Kasparov won a beautiful game. I will be showing that in the classics whenever I will have time. So the main purpose is that this queen isn't serving any good purpose here, and it isn't creating any threats. This threat can be easily weeded off, which is done. Queen c2 was played by Magnus, and look at the queen side of black, again underdeveloped, and yeah, already too much pressure. And although black has castled, white is on its way to castle himself, and the whole process of development would be complete then, and the pawn that he gained has come with some cost because the queen's position isn't looking that good on a2. Nevertheless, Wesley continues. Bishop takes c3 check, queen takes c3, knight e4, challenging both queen and bishop. Queen c2, queen a5 check, so queen coming out, but still there are some development issues on the queen side. King e2, knight takes g3 check, h takes g3. Now this is very serious because this opens up this file for the rook, and queen looking at this h7 square, this can be deadly. So Wesley has to be really careful at the moment, and this is a very good move from Carlsen, opening this h file. And although it is not possible at the moment since this king blocks the path of this bishop, and in ideal world bishop would like to come either on b5, on d3, and then we might see the battery of rooks looking down on this h pawn, and once this h pawn drops, then I think it would be game over without a doubt, with queen seriously looking at this h7 square. So king g7 defends the pawn on h6, f4, Carlsen breaking the king side and also ensuring that king f2, and then this bishop can come out easily. Bishop d7, b4, challenging the queen. If queen is if queen takes, then rook b1 can be very nasty, recovers the pawn, no defense to that, and the position would be hopeless for black. And bishop b5 check won't be possible, the knight controls it. So queen takes b4 did happen, and he should have played rook b1 here, as I'm analyzed, in order to take the pawn. But he plays f takes g5 check. I do not know what was going through. Of course, this will lead to queen h7. And now rook c8. I think this was a complete misstep. And sometimes I cannot understand in Wesley's case that why does he take a lot of time in developing his queen side. And this knight doesn't do very well here. Again, as I said, knight c6, you finish your development, you try to put this rook on c8, probably that would have been fine, but it's really dubious. G takes h6 check, king h8, and now queen takes c8 check, bishop takes, rook takes c8 check, and this is what Tal used to do. If you don't need a piece, you just give it, and you at the board you can see white has only this bishop and this rook for the queen, and but in general what you can see, this knight is doing a tremendous job. How the comparison, how well does this knight do against this one? Very well. How well does this rook do against this rook? Incredible. This rook stuck in the corner doesn't serve any purpose. White is indeed, I would say, a rook up instead of down a queen. A material imbalance, I would say. King f7, knight f3, the knight joins the attack. And in this position, I think that probably a queen move could be a better, queen check, because you need to win something tactically, but again that check would be weeded out by the moves like knight here, and things might not be pleasant. Nevertheless, it's already unpleasant for black. f6 to stop any nuisance on knight g5. King f2 was played, and probably rook c7 would have served a better chance, or better, because then this king would go back, or if it doesn't, if it comes here, then g7 is deadly, would be no stopping promotion. But king f2 is also a very good move, or I should say a safe move in this position, and probably black can go queen b1 just to protect this diagonal. This bishop d3 would be checkmate in this position. And okay, bishop b3, then f5, then knight g5 would be pretty annoying, and then g7 will be the end of that. And as I say, it looks like rook and a bishop for the queen, but again this knight is doing a tremendous job compared to this. This rook does a tremendous job compared to this, and on the board it looks like rook and bishop against queen, but in actual circumstances I would say white is up a rook and a knight. That's how chess goes. That's how Mikhail Tal used to think. Incredible. Carlsen playing like Tal. And queen b2 check was an oversight, because after bishop e2 everything is safe, and now even this rook might join the party. Not from here, but probably would like to go from here or here. You'll see. So knight a6, and he gives up this rook. There was nothing that he could have done. Knight c5, so he's trying to bring this knight here, try to match this knight in terms of the positional advantage that white has, giving up the material. Rook d1 as expected, knight e4 check, king is very safe on g1, no tension, f5, and probably rook e8 attacking the pawn, and if this pawn even has a defender, then knight d4 would have been better to recapture this, but nevertheless bishop d3, everything is in white's control. Queen f2 check, king h1, queen takes e3, bishop takes e4, just removing that nuisance which was creating on this g3 square. F takes e, rook d7 check, king g6, and after rook g8, Wesley so resigns the game 1 and he's one game down. So why did he resign? Well, if king f6 then rook f8 will be end of the world, and if king g6 going back then knight e5 joins the party, and that will be that, because then king has to take, and or if king doesn't take, king h5 then h7 rolls down. It was all over. So Wesley loses the first game, Carlsen wins the first game. So we join game number 2, and in this Wesley has white, Magnus is black. Okay, game number 2, Carlsen is 1 ahead. What goes here? Wesley has to strike back or either survive this one and try to strike back in the next. But since Wesley is white, he has better chances to strike in this game. So he goes for the attacking option, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, Ray Lopez, bishop b5, Berlin defense, Carlsen going for a draw here. And if he really wants a quick draw, then he can just castle and go for the Lermet variation where queens are traded off and the king is on d8. He might opt for that, but again Wesley so cannot afford a draw with white, so he plays d3, bishop c5, main line, and this exchange, and then d6 and castles. You don't want to take it immediately because queen d4 would have been annoying, attacking the knight and threatening mate. So you first castle, and now knight takes is a threat. You can defend it either by playing bishop d6 or bishop g4, just pinning the knight, so the knight won't be able to capture the pawn. But Carlsen plays queen e7, knight b d2, bishop g4 pinning. This pin is annoying, h3, but bishop tucks back to h5. So we see in the Ray Lopez positions that how black can be a little bit late. If white can be a little bit late. If white doesn't play h3 on time, then this bishop g4 is a serious monster. And again we can see that if queen moves away from this diagonal, then this bishop takes f3 is annoying, ruining your pawn structure, and that's not a pleasant sight for any player, this pin. There's a basic tactic, elementary tactics, and some positional tactics. You can say knight c4, nevertheless attacking this pawn like that, but still this pin is active. So knight d7, he can take time. a3, a6, also knight d7 protects the pawn nevertheless, but he could have been easily done with it. b4, attacking the bishop, so bishop goes back to a7, controlling this. So white doesn't have a good time in case if he manages to move this knight away, then f4 won't be possible because of the pin. So Carlsen keeping the tension and keeping his foot on the pedal against Wesley. He's not giving him even a single bit of chance to improve his position. And bishop e3 played, bishop takes, knight takes. He forces him to give this bishop, and which could have done better. And now f6, solidifying the pawn, knight f5, the basic motive to place this knight here. And I think this knight is looking to come here to hassle this bishop, and bishop trade on this f3 might be good for white. Queen, and also knight attacks the queen, so queen has to move, and it moves to f8, knight g3, bishop tucks to f7. That's why the f6 was played, so not coming on g6 but rather coming on f7. And once queen goes away, let's say here, and then queen d6, then black can castle king side, and since the queen side is very strong, Carlsen can castle queen side as well, and that rook will be here right in front of the queen. Very good position indeed. Queen d2, g6, Knight h2, h5. So Carlsen pushing his kingside pawns, putting more pressure on Wesley. That's the best choice if Wesley is in desperate position to win with white. You have to keep pressing ahead. f4, creating a break in the center. E takes, queen takes, and now castles king queen side. I say triple circle. I like this term, triple circle, or long castles. People say long castle. I like to say triple circle. Nevertheless, moving on. e5. So okay, then pawn takes, then bishop hangs, and if knight takes, that won't be pleasant because then knight f3 challenges and then knight g5 is on the cards, and pawn takes simply ruins the position. And by the way, e5 also opens a line of this diagonal, although not significant at the moment. Possibly queen can come here and this knight can come here. That would be even more tremendous in the regarding the position, putting pressure on this pawn, because pawn cannot take, and once knight takes, this pawn would be here. And if this pawn moves after knight e4, then this knight would be hanging and queen will simply take the knight. So f5, knight f3 by Wesley, queen e7, rook a e1, and now Carlsen should have kept attacking by playing h4 and just giving this knight a run for his life, and then probably this rook to g8 and try to push this pawn down, and first securing the protection of this by playing bishop e6 and then trying to play rook g8 and then pressing this pawn down. Maybe that could have been ideal, but okay, rook d e8 just gives Wesley some chance, and if he tries to take it, it would be very good. So what does Wesley do? h4, he closes this kingside potential. Bishop d5, good move. Knight g5, so occupying the hole, as they say. When this structure happens, then there is always the hole there, and knight is the best piece to acquire that hole, which it does. c5, and yes, he should have pushed e6 in this position with the ideas of playing knight here and possibly trying to play c4, just keeping pressure on black, but he just missed his opportunity. Plays rook e3. Just cannot fathom the fact how did he play this, but nevertheless, b5. Carlsen returns the favor. Probably knight f6 would have been a better option, but nevertheless, knight e2, bishop b7, and now comes knight c3. If he had in this position, if he had traded here, I think things could have been better. No threats of pinning here on c5 because the rook is very well defended by the queen. The position could have been playable, but knight c3 just allows him some chance by equalizing, or I should say possibly converting, and c takes b, a takes b, knight f6, rook f e1. Again, e6 could have been a better move, but rook f e1 isn't that bad. Yes, it's not an accurate move, but still it puts Carlsen's chances a little bit on the drawish side, but the game is far from over. Knight g4, rook 3 e2, c5, e6, c takes b4. I thought this was a mistake because rook d8 would have been a better move. Now this, what this does is this opens this king. That's the point. Although he has 3 against this one, and you might have 2 connected pass pawns, but this king looks a little bit shaky, and there might be chances that in a good world, if he is able to play knight here and then knight here, then things can turn very nasty for black here. So this was a mistake by Magnus, and Wesley probably try to pounce on that. Knight f7 he does, Queen c7, queens are traded off, king takes, knight takes rook. This is up the exchange at the moment. Rook takes h8. There we go. Knight d1, rook e8, e7, pushing your passed pawn as far as you can. So Wesley is looking on the charge, looking in the hot seat. Will he be able to win this? Well, let's see. Bishop d5, and now I think I cannot understand what did he miss. He plays knight e3. If he had gone knight here, then things could have been a little bit different because these rooks would have been able to look at this e7 square. Out knight takes, rook takes, there comes a5, king f2, a4, so he's pushing his queenside pawns, king g3, a3, things are looking very shaky indeed, king f4, b3, c takes b3, b4, and Carlsen's chances are looking really great here in this position, and it would be very difficult for Wesley to hold this. Nevertheless, game goes on. d4, king d6, rook e5, and this pawn is hanging, as you can see. Bishop takes b3 would have been a better choice, and the game would have been a little bit even because of the exchange. And also you have to remember that white has a far advanced passed pawn, so I would say the position would have been equal, not winning for either side, but equal. But he plays a2, and this is incredible because if you play, let's say, rook here, defend this pawn isn't going anywhere because this is controlled by this rook, and I think white wins because this pawn, as we say, the hole in the position occupied the king, and he has to bring someone to defend this, and it is not easy at all, and this position would have been winning. But rook a1 is not realizing that. Bishop takes b3, and now suddenly chances are quite bleak for white, although position is equal, as I said, because of this far advanced passed pawn. The counter-attacking chances are immense, and by taking this pawn, this bishop blocks the path of this pawn, and if this pawn comes to b3 anytime, then things can be very shaky indeed. Rook b5, rook takes the passed pawn, rook takes b4, rook e4 check, king g5, rook g4 check, king f6, rook g3, not taking this because the bishop was hanging, rook b5, bishop c4, rook c5, bishop d5, rook a5, just looking for this one, but although it is very easily defended by this bishop, bishop b3, and now I thought that he could just take this, just remove this annoying pawn, but then black would have serious chances indeed, because now this pawn is protected by the rook, and this pawn is actually a passed pawn, and white can have serious trouble here. So that's why not rushing in taking this pawn, so rather playing rook c1, rook takes g2, rook c5, rook g1, preparing promotion. So rook a6 check, king d7, rook a7 check, king d6. Better would have been to just repeat, but here Wesley diverts by playing rook ca5, bishop c4. Still position is equal, the pawn is under control, no threat. Rook a7 check, king d6, rook a8 check, f4, and here he makes a mistake. If he had played rook c5, that would have been a little bit better, because now this king cannot come here and cannot threaten in any means and by any means, and you can just simply try to, let's say, here, and also rook c5 attacks the bishop, mind you, so this bishop must have to move. but that could have been playable. But rook d8 check, and suddenly everything was gone, because after king c7 this rook is attacked, and if you go like rook d8, f3, and this pawn is now annoying, and it seems like there's absolutely no stopping this one. Rook takes a2, bishop takes a2, rook takes a2, and now king d6. Wesley so resigned the game. There's absolutely nothing that Wesley can do in this position. Black will simply gobble up this pawn. Well, the next move, if you play this, then rook here is deadly. The king cannot come here, king cannot come here, king of course cannot come here. The pawn controls it, and this king shoulders this king very well, so this pawn isn't a threat. And if this pawn drops, then black is almost 2 pawns up in a winning rook and pawn endgame. So Wesley so resigned. So Magnus Carlsen led 2 wins after first 2 games, and in the third game Magnus Carlsen played a draw, which meant that Magnus progresses through. So congratulations to the 3 semi-finalists, Hikaru, Yu Yang Yi, and Magnus Carlsen. So I'll be bringing you the 4th quarterfinal as well, which was between Sergei Karyakin and Danny Dubow, and who came through in that, I'll be bringing you that as well. I hope you liked my video. I hope you liked my analysis. Stay safe. Cheers. Bye.